My name is Khalid bin Rashid Al Thani. I am 27 years old. I was born in Doha, Qatar, as the son of one of the emir's brothers. Since I was small, I grew up surrounded by gold, Arabian horses, luxury trips around the world. My childhood was not like other children's. Every morning I woke up in marble halls. Servants brought me whatever I wanted, but something felt wrong. My father hired private theology teachers. They followed me everywhere. Even on vacation, I had to study the Quran. I memorized every verse. I could recite it perfectly in Arabic. Everyone praised me. They said I was a blessed child. We had our own private mosque in the palace, 5 times a day. I prayed with my family. I wore the finest clothes. I ate from golden plates. But at night, alone in my room, I felt empty. It was a strange emptiness, like hunger, but not for food. I had everything money could buy. Sports cars, expensive watches, the best education. Yet something was missing. Deep inside, I knew it. The silence in my room was suffocating. I would lie in my bed and stare at the ceiling. All the prayers, all the rituals, all the wealth, none of it filled the hole in my heart. It was like my soul knew something was wrong. I tried to ignore this feeling. I told myself I was ungrateful. Allah had given me everything. I should be happy. But the emptiness grew stronger every day. My family expected me to be perfect, the perfect Muslim prince, the perfect son, the perfect example for others. But inside, I was falling apart. I felt like I was wearing a mask that was getting heavier each day. The pressure was constant. Every word I spoke was watched. Every action was judged. I lived in a golden prison and I didn't even know it yet. The palace walls were beautiful, but they were still walls. Every day felt the same. Wake up, pray, study, eat. Pray again, sleep. The routine never changed. My theology teachers were stricter. They watched everything I did. If I asked the wrong question, they would frown. If I seemed distracted during prayers, they would correct me. There was no room for doubt, no space for questions. "You are blessed, Prince Khalid," they would say. "Allah has chosen your family to lead. You must be an example." But I didn't feel blessed. I felt trapped. At family gatherings, I saw the same emptiness in other faces. My cousins smiled me keen, but their eyes looked dead. My uncles spoke about business and power, but never about joy. Even my father seemed tired behind his authority. We attended the most important mosques in the country. People bowed when they saw us. Religious leaders praised our devotion, but it all felt like a performance, like we were actors playing roles we didn't choose. I began to notice how controlled everything was. The books I could read were chosen for me. The friends I could have were approved by the family. Even my thoughts seemed monitored. There was always someone watching, always someone listening. The worst part was the pretending. I had to smile when important visitors came. I had to recite verses perfectly. I had to show devotion I didn't feel. The mask was becoming part of my face. At night, I would walk to my window and look out at the city. Thousands of lights. Thousands of people living their lives. But I felt more alone than anyone down there. They had freedom I would never know. My mother would often say, "We are the guardians of tradition, Khalid. The people look to us for spiritual guidance." But how could I guide others when I was lost myself? The golden chains around my life were getting tighter. Every privilege came with a price. Every blessing felt like a burden. I was suffocating in luxury, drowning in expectations. I started to understand that wealth and power couldn't fill the emptiness inside me, but I had no idea what could. I only knew that something was desperately wrong, and I was powerless to change it. The invisible prison was complete, and I was its most willing prisoner. The emptiness inside me was growing. It wasn't just sadness anymore. It was like a deep hunger that food couldn't satisfy, a thirst that water couldn't quench. I tried harder to be the perfect Muslim. I prayed longer. I memorized more verses. I gave more to charity, but nothing worked. The void in my heart only grew bigger. During Ramadan, while everyone celebrated our devotion, I felt nothing. The fasting meant nothing to me. The prayers felt hollow. I was going through the motions, but my heart wasn't there. I started having strange dreams, not nightmares, but dreams that left me feeling disturbed. I would see myself in a desert, lost and calling out for help. But no one would answer. I would wake up with tears on my face. My family began to notice my distance. "Khalid seems troubled," I heard my aunt whisper to my mother. "Perhaps he needs to marry soon. A wife will give him purpose." But I knew marriage wouldn't fix what was broken inside me. How could I share my life with someone when I didn't even understand my own life? I began to ask my teachers difficult questions. Why do good people suffer? Why doesn't prayer always bring peace? What if someone feels empty despite following all the rules? They gave me the same answers they always gave. Trust Allah's plan. Pray more. Study harder. But their words felt like empty shells, beautiful on the outside, hollow on the inside. The hunger inside me was becoming desperate. I would lie awake at night, pressing my hands against my chest, trying to understand what was missing. It felt like there was a hole where my heart should be. I started to envy ordinary people. The servants in our palace seemed happier than I was. The guards at our gates smiled more genuinely than anyone in my family. They had something I didn't have, despite all my wealth. Sometimes I would catch myself staring at the sky, waiting for something. I didn't know what. A sign, an answer, a voice, anything that would explain this terrible longing inside me. The pressure from my family increased. "You are 25 now, Khalid. You must take your responsibilities seriously." But how could I be responsible for others when I couldn't even understand myself? I felt like I was dying slowly, not physically, but spiritually. Every day, the emptiness consumed a little more of me. I was disappearing inside my own life. The worst part was the loneliness. I was surrounded by people, but I felt completely alone. No one understood what I was going through. No one could see past the prince to the broken man inside. I needed something real, something true, something that could fill the growing darkness in my soul, but I had no idea where to find it. Everything changed when I turned 26. My father decided I should study economics in London. "It will be good for you to understand international business," he said, but I think he noticed my depression and wanted to give me space. London was different from anything I had ever experienced. For the first time in my life, I could walk down the street without being recognized. I could eat in small restaurants. I could sit in parks without bodyguards watching my every move. The freedom was intoxicating, but it also scared me. I didn't know how to be alone with myself. In Qatar, every moment was structured. In London, I had to choose what to do with my time. I enrolled in university, but I spent most of my time wandering the city. I visited museums, walked along the Thames, sat in coffee shops listening to conversations in different languages. The world seemed so much bigger than the palace walls. One evening, I was walking near my apartment when I heard singing. It was coming from a small building with a simple cross above the door. The melody was beautiful, but it was the words that stopped me. Amazing grace. How sweet the sound. That saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found, was blind, but now I see. I had never heard anything like it. The voices weren't perfect, but they carried something my heart recognized. Hope, joy, something real. I stood outside for almost an hour listening. When the singing stopped, people began to leave. An older man with kind eyes noticed me standing there. "Are you interested in joining us?" he asked in Arabic. I was surprised to hear my language. "I was just listening," I said carefully. He smiled. "My name is Samir. I'm from Baghdad. I understand curiosity about things we don't know." Samir told me he met every Tuesday with other Arab Christians, former Muslims who had found Jesus. The words shocked me. I had never heard anyone speak so openly about leaving Islam. That night, I couldn't sleep. The song kept playing in my mind. I once was lost, but now am found. The words described exactly how I felt, lost. But maybe there was hope of being found. I spent the next week thinking about Samir's invitation. Part of me was terrified. Everything I had been taught told me to stay away. But the hunger in my heart was stronger than my fear. The following Tuesday, I went back to the small building. My hands were shaking as I knocked on the door. Samir opened it with the same kind smile. "I was hoping you would come," he said. That night changed everything. For the first time in my life, I heard about love without conditions, grace without earning, peace that didn't depend on perfect performance. I didn't understand it all, but I felt something shift inside me, like a door opening in a dark room. Light was beginning to enter my world. I started meeting with Samir's group every week. There were about 12 of us, former Muslims from different countries. Iraq, Syria, Egypt, Iran. Each person had a story of finding Jesus despite incredible risks. Hearing their testimonies broke something open inside me. A woman from Iran told how Jesus appeared to her in a dream after her son died. A man from Syria described feeling God's love for the first time while reading the Bible in secret. Their stories were so different from mine, but the emptiness they described was exactly what I felt. Samir gave me a Bible in Arabic. "Read the book of John first," he said. "Take your time, ask God to show you truth." Reading the Bible was like drinking water after years in the desert. Jesus' words spoke directly to my heart. "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." I had been weary my entire life. I had been burdened by expectations, by emptiness, by the weight of being perfect. But as my understanding grew, so did my fear. I was the son of a royal family. If anyone discovered what I was learning, the consequences would be severe. Not just for me, but for everyone I loved. I began to live a double life. During the day, I attended university classes and called my family to report on my studies. At night, I read the Bible and attended the small Christian meetings. The contrast was exhausting. My family started asking questions about my activities. "You sound different on the phone, Khalid," my mother said during one call. "Are you making good friends? Are you staying faithful to your prayers?" I lied to her. I told her I was praying 5 times a day. I told her I was spending time with good Muslim students. Each lie felt like a knife in my heart, but I didn't know what else to do. The worst part was the growing conviction in my heart. Every time I read Jesus' words, every time I prayed to him instead of following Islamic prayers, I felt more peace than I had ever known. But I also felt more trapped. One night, after reading about Jesus' sacrifice on the cross, I broke down crying in my small London apartment. The love described in those pages was beyond anything I had ever experienced. God loved me not because of my performance, not because of my family name, not because of my wealth. He loved me because I was his child. But accepting that love would cost me everything I had ever known, my family, my country, my identity, my future, I started having sleepless nights. I would pace around my apartment, fighting an internal war. Part of me wanted to embrace this new faith completely. Part of me wanted to return to Qatar and forget everything I had learned. Samir noticed my struggle. "Faith requires courage, brother," he told me. "But remember, you're not choosing between comfort and difficulty. You're choosing between death and life." His words haunted me. I realized I'd been spiritually dead my entire life. All the wealth, all the privilege, all the religious observance, none of it had given me real life. Only Jesus offered that. But the cost seemed too high. I was about to lose everything for something I couldn't see or touch. It felt like jumping off a cliff, hoping someone would catch me. The storm inside me was growing stronger every day. The breaking point came during my final month in London. I had been struggling with my decision for weeks. The internal battle was tearing me apart. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep. I felt like I was going crazy. One night, I was reading Jesus' words in the Gospel of Matthew. "Whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me. For whoever wants to save their life will lose it, but whoever loses their life for me will find it." Those words hit me like lightning. I suddenly understood what I had to choose. I could keep my old life, the wealth, the status, the family approval, and remain spiritually dead, or I could lose everything and find real life in Jesus. I fell to my knees in my small apartment and cried like I had never cried before. All the years of emptiness, all the religious performance, all the fear came pouring out of me. "Jesus," I whispered, "if you are real, if you are truly the way to God, I surrender my life to you. I give up everything, my family, my country, my future. I choose you." The moment I spoke those words, something incredible happened. The heavy weight I had carried my entire life lifted off my shoulders. The emptiness in my heart began to fill with warmth I had never felt before. For the first time in my life, I felt truly alive. I stayed on my knees for hours, talking to God like I was talking to a friend. I confessed all my sins, all my emptiness, all my pretending, and I felt His forgiveness wash over me like clean water. 2 weeks later, Samir baptized me in a private ceremony with our small group. As I went under the water, I felt like my old life was being buried. When I came up, I was a new person. I was no longer just Prince Khalid. I was Khalid, son of the living God. The peace that filled me was beyond description. I had spent 26 years searching for something to fill the void in my heart. Now I understood what it was. It was Jesus. It had always been Jesus. But I also knew that the hardest part was just beginning. I had to return to Qatar in a few days. I had to face my family. I had to live my new faith in a place where it could cost me everything. Samir prayed for me before I left London. God will give you strength for whatever comes, he said. You are not alone anymore. You never were. As my plane took off from Heathrow, I felt both terror and joy. Terror for what I was about to face. Joy for who I had become. I was flying toward the storm, but I was no longer empty. I carried the light of Christ inside me. I had found what I was searching for my entire life. Now I had to learn how to live with it in a world that would reject it. But I was ready. For the first time in my life, I was truly ready. Returning to Qatar was like entering a different world. The palace that had once felt like a prison now felt completely foreign. I had changed so much in London, but everything here remained the same. For the first few weeks, I tried to hide my transformation. I attended family prayers. I joined conversations about business and politics. I smiled and played the part of the dutiful prince. But inside, I was different. I belonged to Jesus now. The change was impossible to hide completely. My mother noticed it first. "You seem at peace, Khalid," she said one morning. "London was good for you." She had no idea how right she was. London had given me Jesus, and Jesus had given me peace I never knew was possible, but I couldn't tell her that. I started praying to Jesus in my private moments. When I was alone in my room, I would read the digital Bible I had hidden on my phone. I would sing the Christian songs I had learned in London very quietly. These stolen moments with God became my lifeline. But keeping my faith secret was agony. Every family prayer felt like betrayal. Every religious conversation felt like lying. I was living 2 lives, and it was exhausting. The breaking point came during a family gathering 3 months after my return. My uncle was discussing plans for a new mosque. He asked for my opinion on the design. "I think," I said carefully, "that beautiful buildings don't guarantee a connection with God." The room went quiet. My father stared at me. "What do you mean by that?" I should have stopped there. I should have given a safe answer. But something inside me couldn't pretend anymore. I mean that God cares more about our hearts than our rituals, more about love than rules. My words hung in the air like a confession. My family exchanged worried glances. They didn't understand what was happening, but they sensed something was very wrong. Within a week, my mother discovered my secret Bible app. She was borrowing my phone when she accidentally opened it. I found her sitting on my bed, holding the phone, tears streaming down her face. "What is this, Khalid?" she whispered. There was no point in lying anymore. "It's the Bible, Mother." The confrontation with my family was swift and severe. My father didn't shout. He didn't get angry. He simply looked at me with disappointment that broke my heart. "You have brought shame on our name," he said quietly. "On our faith, on everything we represent." They took my passport, my credit cards, my car keys. I was confined to the palace under constant surveillance. Guards watched my every move. My phone was taken away. My computer was monitored. I became a prisoner in my own home. The isolation was complete, but I wasn't alone. In my room, I prayed to Jesus constantly. I sang the songs I remembered from London. I recited Bible verses I had memorized. They could imprison my body, but they couldn't touch my soul. My mother visited me often, crying and pleading with me to return to Islam. "You're destroying everything," she would say. "Please come back to us." But I couldn't go back. I had tasted real life. I had experienced God's love. There was no returning to the emptiness I once knew. Months passed. I lost weight. I lost privileges. I lost my freedom. But I never lost my faith. In fact, it grew stronger every day. The persecution I faced only proved to me that what I had found was real and precious. Today, I write this testimony in secret on a device I managed to access briefly. I don't know what tomorrow holds. I may never leave this palace again. I may never see my Christian brothers and sisters from London again. But I want you to know something. Every loss was worth it. Every sacrifice was worth it. The peace in my heart, the love I feel from God, the hope I have for eternity, it's worth more than any throne, any fortune, any earthly pleasure. If you're reading this and you feel the same emptiness I once felt, don't ignore it. That emptiness is calling you to something greater. It's calling you to Jesus. He found me in a palace in Qatar. He can find you wherever you are. Pray for me. Pray for all who pay a high price to follow him. He is worth it. He is worth everything.